My algebra class, let's knock at this homework for chapter A3. I'm going to start with the first one in exercise 1 and 2. Find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, and the y-intercept. All right, let's go with the vertex. Remember, the vertex is where the arch goes in the other direction. So this particular parallelogram, we see it's here, and that's at 2 and -1. So I would put 2 and -1 for my vertex. Next is the axis of symmetry. That's where the arc is going and making its curve. And that's when x is at 2, right? So that's x equals 2. And last is the y-intercept. Y-intercept is where it's crossing y, and that's right here at 1. So my y-intercept is 1. Okay, well, let's see how I did. There we go. 2 and -1, x equals 2 and 1. All right, you have number 2 to do. We're going to move on to number 3. I'm working, it'd be nice to go ahead and work out 3, 5, and 7. And after that, we're going to, for the sake of making this video not so long, we're going to go ahead and speed it up using the PowerPoint. Let's go and work this. I want you to see how easy it is. When we're following, it says, find the axis of symmetry. Okay, that's part A. And part B is then, and the vertex of the graph. Okay, now to find these things, we're going to use the formula negative B over 2A. All right, and following this, we got a negative. Now, what we have to remember is the first one, which is x squared, right? That's going to be the coefficient in front is a, and then the coefficient in front of the second one is b. And if there was a third one, it would be c. But we're only interested in these two for this particular formula. So I'm going to take that -4, I'm going to put it on top, and we're going to divide that by 2 times. Remember, they got a 2 over here. We're multiplying it to this 2 here. So that's going to be a 2 right there. Okay. So now we replace A with 2, replace B with -4. I want to solve this. That negative is going to stay in front. -4 is going to stay right there until I solve the bottom. And 2 times 2, well, that's 4. And now a -4 divided by 4, that's -1. So I've got a negative times -1, well, heck, that's a positive 1. Okay? All right, now we found our axis of symmetry. Now we have to find a vertex. Okay? To find a vertex, we need the y. Okay? Because right now we know that this is going to go through 1. All right? We also know this is not a negative graph, so it's going to be an arc. They're going this way, right? I guess an arc going this way, and we know that its axis of symmetry is now crossing +1. Okay, so my y-axis is going to be over here somewhere. So now let's go ahead and plug it into our formula. Remember, our formula was 2x squared minus 4x. Okay, because I want to see where I got my formula right over here. Okay, I'm replacing x with the 1 that we got. Okay, remember, we were finding the axis symmetry, and that was where x is. So I'm going to replace this x with 1. That's going to give me 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1. That's going to give me 1 times 1. Well, that's 1. And 1 times 2 is 2. And -4 times 1, well, that's -4. Now we got 2 minus 4, that's -2. And that's my y. So now I know my vertex is going to be 1 and -2. Okay, let's see how we did. Look at that. So x equals 1, just like we said. And then my vertex would be 1 and -2. All right, I'm going to do a few more for you here just to make sure that you got a good understanding of this. Oh, sorry about that. Pressed the wrong button. Let's see. Get the eraser real quick. Let's go to number 5 now. Again, remember this is A, this coefficient is B, and then this is C. So when we use the formula negative B, oh, that's a negative P, I messed that up. Negative B divided by 2A. So now we have a negative sign, and B this time is going to be negative 18. So I'm going to put a negative 18 here. Then we got a negative 9 on the bottom, so this is 2 times negative 9. Okay. Now we do this, we realize, well, I got a negative times a negative, so that's going to give it, well, let's tell you what, let's work this a little differently. I don't want to confuse. So I'm going to take this negative sign and put it right here in front and leave it for last. Okay, so right now this is going to equal a negative. Well, 2 times negative 9 is also negative 18. So now we have negative 18 over negative 18. Of course, negative divided by negative is a positive, and 18 divided by 18 is 1. So this is really going to be equals negative times 1. And of course, that's going to be negative 1. So now I know my x is negative 1. That is my axis of symmetry. So I see that this is a negative sign in front. That means we're going to have a parabola going like this, and the top is where it's actually going through negative 1 over here on the x-axis, right? So I don't know where it is on y yet, but that's where it is on the x-axis. Now we're going to plug in negative 1 for all these numbers. We got well, negative 9. I'm going to take negative 1 square. Oops. Negative 1 square. And then we're going to minus 18 times negative 1. We're going to minus 1. Well, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. 1 times negative 9 is negative 9. Negative 18 times negative 1, well, that's going to get positive 18. And then we have minus 1. All right, well, negative 9 and negative 1 make a negative 10. Now 18 minus 10, and that's going to give me 8. Okay, so now I know that my vertex is actually going to be at negative 1 and 8. Okay, so I guess if this was my y-axis over here, it'd be crossing through 8. Okay? This would be at 8. All right, so let's see how we did. Look at that. X is negative 1, and negative 1 and 8 is my vertex. Yeah. And clear the field again of all the eraser or ink markings. Go to number 7. This one seems to be very complex. I'm still going to work it out for you because I don't think I'm going to take the easy ones. Remember, this is going to be A, this is B, and this is C. So we plug it in our formula, negative 2 over, negative B over 2A is going to be equal to negative, well, B is negative 4 now. This can be divided by 2 over 5. And 2 over 5 is going to get multiplied to 2. All right, so when we work this, we know that this is going to equal, well, a negative 4, or, yeah, minus again, don't forget that. We're going to have negative 4, and we're going to put that over, well, 2 times 2 is 4, so this would be 4 over 5. Now we have a fraction and a fraction. That creates a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to work this over here. I know that I can use KCF. So I'm going to keep my first one the same. And I'm going to multiply to the inverse of my second, which is 5 over 4. When I do this, I see that I can go ahead and get rid of my 4's by dividing them out and getting 1. Now I have a negative 1 times 5, that's a negative 5. Let's see here. And then 1 times 1 is 1, which means that's going to equal negative 5. All right, so now I've got equals negative 5. And we know a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's going to leave me with 5. So x equals 5. That is my axis of symmetry. Now I'm going to plug in 5 into my formula, okay? Remember the formula was 2 over 5 times, that was x squared. So since x is 5, I'm going to replace it with 5. Remember, this is squared. Next, I'm going to put minus 4x. So minus 4, and since x is 5, I'll replace it with 5. And it says plus 14. Okay, let's give this a shot. Well, 5 times 5 is 25. So now I have 2 over 5 times 25. And then we have minus, well, negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. And then we're adding 14. All right, well, if this is 25, I could say it's like 25 over 1. Then I could say that 5 divided by 5 is 1. 25 divided by 5, that's 5. Now I got 2 times 5, and that's 10. So we're going to have 10 minus 20 plus 14. Well, 10 plus 14 is 24. And 24 minus 20, well, that's 4. So my vertex must be 5 and 4. All right, let's give it a shot. Look at that. Axis of symmetry is 5, and my vertex is 5 and 4. All right, we're going to go on to the next slide. And we're going to speed it up now. I've already spent 12 minutes teaching. So it says graph the function, find the domain, and the range. If I graph this function, first I have to find my axis of symmetry. I'm going to take negative b to a, which is going to put 12 for b, and 2 for a. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. So my axis of symmetry is negative 3. Now I'm going to plug that back into our problem, and we're going to replace x with negative 3. Well, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. 12 times negative 3 is negative 36. Everything else falls right down. 2 times 9 is 18. Now we have 18 minus 36 plus 4. Well, I know that 18 minus 36 is negative 18, and negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14. So the vertex is negative 3, negative 4. So the y-intercept is 4, right? We know that because right here it shows it. And then, so the points are 0, 4, and then negative 6 and 4, right? And just look right here. We said that the axis of symmetry was negative 3. We said our vertex was negative 3 and 14, or negative 14. So that's way down here. Okay, so when we found out that our y-axis is at 4, that means we had to go and say that, well, when we were 3 away, 1, 2, 3, it was 4. So when we go 3 away here, 1, 2, 3, it has to go up to a 4 as well. Okay, but we'll be at negative 6 then. So negative 6 and 4. All right. The domain of all real numbers. is all real numbers because these arrows go on forever in each direction. And the range is any number that is let's see, a negative 14 and greater. Right? All right, you have number 10 to do. Let's move on. We're going to go on to number 11. It says graph the function, find the domain. Once again, we're going to go ahead and take this into our formula, negative b over 2a. This time b is going to be negative 16. A is going to be a negative 8. We know this is going to be a reflection, right? Well, 2 times negative 8, that's negative 16. And then I've got, let's see, got negative 16 up here, divided by 16. Let's see here. And this is a negative times a negative, in case you're wondering why this was positive, okay? But this was negative times 2, right? So negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. So 16 divided by negative 16 is negative 1. We're going to plug in 1 into our formula. So x is now negative 1. And it's negative 1 over here. So negative 1 times itself is 1. Negative 16 times negative 1 is positive 16. And now negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. So at negative 8 plus 16, well, that's 8. And then 8 minus 9 is going to give me negative 1. So the vertex is negative 1, negative 1. All right? I can plug that into my graph, negative 1, negative 1. I remember it's a reflection, so it's going to go down. I know that my axis symmetry is negative 9, right? Well, that's where, my y-intercept, negative 9, right? And that was, let's see, if I was at negative 1, that was 1 away. So if I go 1 on the other side, that means it's also going to be there. So when I increase, or when I go back 1, it's going to be negative 2. So that'll be negative 2, negative 9. So domain is all real numbers, but the range is going to be any number equal to negative 1 and lower. Okay? Number 12 is yours to do. Let's go on to number 13. Number 13, once again, let's just graph the function, find the domain and range. Okay, I'm plugging negative 6 now in for b, and a is going to be 2 over 3. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive 6, right? And then we have 2 times 2, that's 4, so this should be 4 over 3. So now we got 6 over 4 over 3. Well, we got to go ahead and get rid of it. We're going to be using keep, change, flip. So we're going to be multiplying 6 to the inverse of 4 over 3, which is 3 over 4. We're taking 6 times 3. That's going to be, I'm just going to work it over here so you can see how they got the answer, right? This was 6, negative 6, excuse me, over, no, I'm sorry, it was 6 over here. Let me get rid of that. It's positive 6, then 4 over 3. So now they did keep, change, flip. So this is equal to 6 over 1 times 3 over 4. I mean, even if we work this out, we'd see it was 18 over 4. Let's just, I mean, it really doesn't matter which way we do it. Then we see both of these are divisible by 2, so we're going to divide by 1 in the form of 2 over 2. And that gives me 9 over 2. And that's how they got 9 over 2. That is your axis symmetry. Now they're going to plug that in for the problem. 9 over 2 times 9 over 2 is 81 over 4. Okay? And negative 6 times 9 over 2, that's going to be negative 54 divided by 2, which is negative 27. And next, we're taking the 2/3 and multiplying it to 81 over 4. Well, see, if I look at these, I can cross it out, right? And that's going to give me a 1 and a 2. And then if I look at these, I can cross them out. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 81 divided by 3 is 27. And now I've got 27 over 2, and that's where they got this right here. They brought down everything else. Now they got 27 over 2 minus 27 plus 25. We still got to combine all these. Remember, 27 over 2 That's a fraction. So let's just combine these numbers first, right? Um, Actually, what it looks like is they combine these first. So I guess we're going to follow suit. Remember, 27 over 2 is really, let's see here. Well, half of 27 is almost, I would say 13. Okay. Yeah, 13 and to 1/2, so 13.5. And then we're going to minus 27. Okay. And then we're going to add 5. Let's see. 27 over 2 minus 27. Because this is a half. So where are they getting the same? Let me check this out. Oh, I see what they did there. Since this is half of this, minusing this from this will give you the negative one. I'll show you in a second here. So basically, they turned this, they kept this as a fraction, right? Yeah, let me just change this out here. What they did is they put 27 over 2, and they said minus this. Now, if I'm going to turn 27 with a denominator of 2, I'm going to have to take 27 and then multiply it to 2 over 2. And that's going to give me a negative 54 over 2. And now 54, I got 27 over 2 minus 54 over 2. Well, 54 minus 27, that's equal to negative 27. And the 2 stays the same. So now you see where they got the negative 27 over 2 plus 5. Now we're going to add 5. Remember, negative 27 over 2 can also be written as negative 13.5. But I think the way they're doing it, once again, let me stick to the way they're doing it so it's less confusing. They're taking this negative 27 over 2. They needed to add 5. So what they're doing is taking 5 over 1 and multiplying it to 2 over 2. That's going to give me 10 over 2. So when they're taking negative 27 plus 10, they're getting a negative 17 over 2. And now you can see where they got that from. Okay? All right, now you know where they got all the numbers. Let's go ahead and erase all this. And now we're going to graph it. We've got remember the vertex is 9 over 2 and negative 17 over 2. We know it crosses at 5, right? So let's see, if the axis of symmetry is 9 over 2, right? So the y-axis is 0, 5. So the x-axis, it's going to go ahead and cross again at 9 and 5, right? 9 and 5. Because if this was 9 over 2, that's really 4 and 1/2, right? And 4.5, when we add another 4.5, will give us 9. And that's where they got the 9 over here, okay? All right, so we put it on a graph. It's going to look like this, right? My axis of symmetry was 4.5, right? My vertex was at 4.5 and negative 17 over 2, which is really like negative 8.5, okay? And then remember the axis is the y-intercept was 5, right? So it's 5 over here, which means it's 5 over here, same distance away. We already covered that. That was 4.5 from where 4.5 was. We're going to go another 4.5 in the other direction. So the domain is all real numbers since this goes on forever. And the range is any number that is negative 17 over 2 or greater. All right, number 14 is yours to do. Number 15, describe and correct the error in finding the axis symmetry of the graph. They're saying I'm going to take negative b divided by 2a. They're taking the negative 12 and putting it here. They're taking the 2 times the 3 here. And this is going to give us 6. So this will give us negative 2. They said the axis of symmetry is negative 2. So describe and correct the error in finding the axis of symmetry, right? So what's wrong with this number negative 2 here? Okay, so we took the negative and we applied it over here to our 12. But remember, this was a negative 12. So it should have been negative times a negative, which would have made that a positive. It's going to end up being a positive 2, see? Should have been a negative times a negative 12, which would have gave us a positive 12 divided by 6. So the axis of symmetry is actually x equals 2. I'm going to let you work on number 16 on your own. Now it's time to work on number 17. Number 17, tell whether the function has the maximum value or the minimum value, then find the value. So minimum value or the maximum value. Well, this is a positive, right? So that means it's going to have a minimum value because the arc's going to be going like this, the parabola, right? And that means it's going to be something or bigger, right? So it's going to have a minimum value, right? I'll then find the value, okay? Remember the parabola opens up, so it will have a minimum value. We're going to take negative 18, use it for B, 3 for A. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative times a negative is a positive 18. 18 divided by 6 is 3. We plug that in. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 18 times 3 is negative 54. And the 15 comes down. 3 times 9 is 27. The negative 54 and the positive 15 come on down. And I can say that 27 plus 15 is going to give me, or excuse me, 27 minus 54 is going to give me negative 27. And plus 15 comes down. And negative 27 plus 15 is negative 12. So the minimum value is negative 12. Okay? Let's go to number 19. Number 19, it's a negative in front. So this is going to be a parabola that arcs like this, which means it's going to have a maximum value. Okay? And once again, we're going to take our formula. We're going to replace B with 4. We're going to replace A with negative 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. A negative times positive is negative. A negative divided by negative is a positive. And 4 over 8 is the same as 1/2. So we have 1/2 now to plug in. Got negative 4 times 1/2 squared. Well, 1/2 squared is 1/4. And negative 4 divided or times 1/2 will give us negative 1. We know this because negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Now everything else comes down. Negative 1 plus 2 will give me 1. And 1 minus 2 will give me negative 1. So the maximum value is negative 1. All right, let's go ahead and go to number 21. This is the negative front, so once again, it's going to have a maximum value. We're plugging in the numbers once more. This time our B is 11, and our A is negative 1/2. Well, 2 times negative 1/2 will give you negative 2, and negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. The negative times the negative 11 gives me a positive 11. 11 divided by negative 1 would be negative 11. When we go to the next one, we see that we're taking the original formula, we're plugging in negative 11, okay? So negative 11 times negative 11 gives us a positive 121. 1/2 of 121, well, that's going to be a negative 121 divided by 2. Everything else comes down. We had a negative 11 times negative 11, that was positive 121. Now remember, this is half of 121, so when I add it to a positive 121, that's going to give me a positive 121 divided by 2. And when I add this to 6, I remember that 121 is really, well, that's, let's see, 60, right? Because 120 divided by 2 is 60. 60 and 1/2. So when I add 60 to 6, I'm going to get 66 and 1/2. So the maximum value is 66 and 1/2. All right, you have 18, 20, and 22 to do. I'm moving on. It says modeling real life, the height in feet of a javelin t seconds after it's thrown can be represented by the function negative 16t squared plus 82t plus 5. Estimate and interpret the maximum value of the function. Well, we know there's a maximum because this is negative sign. We know this arc's going to go like this as a maximum value. When we plug this into our formula, we realize we're going to get, let's see, 82 is going to be our B, negative 16 will be our A, 2 times negative 16 is negative 32, and negative times 82 is negative 82. Negative divided by negative is a positive, and 82 divided by, well, both of these can be divided by 2, right, to give us 41 over 16. We're going to plug that in. We got H times, remember this is, let's see, oh, I'm sorry, this is it over here. Negative 16 times 41 over 16 squared. Once we square this, we'll multiply it to negative 16. We're going to take 82 and multiply it to 41 and put it over 16. And then when we add 5, we're going to end up getting 110.0625. So the javelin reaches a maximum height of about 110 feet. All right. You have number 24 for A, B, and C. And number 25, the front of the aircraft hangar is a parabolic, in other words, it looks like a parabola. It can be modeled by the equation y equals negative 0.006 x squared plus 1.5 x, where x and y are measured in feet. The front of the second hangar is shown in this graph here. So it says which hangar is taller, which hangar is wider. All right, so we're going to have to go ahead and graph the first one. Well, let's go ahead and do that. If I graph the first one, I'm going to get a graph that looks like this. And I'm just going to work through it because I see that it's shoulder work. I hate it when they don't do that. So remember, we're going to have a negative 2, negative b, I don't know why I keep putting 2, and 2 times a. This is going to be equal to negative 1.5, and then that's going to be divided by 2 times, let's see, this is a negative 0.006, right? When we do this, we're going to have a negative 1.5 on top, and then we're going to plug that in. We're going to multiply 2 times negative 0.006. I know 6 times 2 is 12, so this should give me a negative 0.012. And we do this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have to divide this by this, right? Let's see here. 1.5 divided by, I hate doing math like this, but let's see it through 1.5, and we're going to divide it by negative 0.012. Remember, we got to move the decimal over 3 places, so we'll move this over 1, 2, 3. That gives me 2 more zeros. All right. I'm going to say how many times is 12, because now we have 12 going into 1,500. That's going to go into 1 time. That's going to leave me with 300. So how many times is 12 going to 30? I'm going to say 2 times. It's going to be 24. It's going to leave me with 60. And 12 goes into 65 times, right? So remember our decimal went over, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So that gives me 125. Okay? So now I know my axis of symmetry was 125. And you can see that in the picture. Look right here. Here's 125. And there is my axis of symmetry. Okay? To find to go ahead and find my vertex, I plug 125 into my problem. When I do, I'm going to end up getting, it looks like somewhere around 90 or so. I'm not going to work all that because I don't got my calculator there, but you understand you're going to replace x with 125. You're going to square 125, right? Then you're going to multiply it to negative. Oh, I'm sorry, this should have been a negative, right? What I'm going to do, make sure I'm doing this right. We had a negative. Oh, this was a negative. No, negative divided by negative was a positive. Sorry about that. So this would have been a positive. So now, then you would have added 1.5 times 125. Okay? And when you did that, you would have got something that looks like probably close to 90. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm fairly certain it's close to it. All right? Let's see here. Yeah. So, yeah, let's see, negative 0.006 times 125 squared plus 1.5 times 125. We're going to get you somewhere around there. So you can see that the first hanger has a maximum height less than 100 feet, right? Let's see, while the second aircraft has a maximum height that is greater than 100 feet. You can see that over here, because this is 100. So the second hangar is taller, right? The second one is taller. Now we can also see that the first one goes from, well, these are going up by 50, and this is 25, right? So let's see, 25, 100, 25, 150, 25, 200, yes. So this here must be my zero spot, right? So we're talking 300 feet across. Over here, we're talking 25, this is 125 double is just 225 across. So the first one is also wider, right? You can see that the first aircraft has a width of 250 feet. Oh, I'm sorry, I judged that wrong. I put that at 300. I forgot that every one of these, let's see, 25, 50, yeah, it's 25. So this is just 50 across, not 300. I apologize for that. And so this one only has 225 across. Oh no, actually, this is 225. Another 25 would be 250. Let's see, 250. Well, then they're both the same, right? Oh, okay, so the first aircraft, okay, let me see what's going on here. You can see that the first aircraft hangar has a width of 250 feet, yeah, right? And it says, while the second aircraft hangar has a width of less than 250 feet. Okay, let's see what's going on. 25, 50. Oh, every one of these increments is just 25. Oh, embarrassing. So this is not going to be, let's see here. This would have been 25, 50, 100, 150, right? And two more would be 200. And then, according to this, it looks like 250. It might, I'm not quite following why they say it's the second one has a width of less than 250, because it looks like 250 to me. If that's the case, they would have the same width, right? So I'm not sure why they're making it look like the first hangar is wider. We're going to leave it at that. Just put down these answers and I'll count it right for you. All right, and that's all of them. We're going to call it a night, and we'll see you in class for grading.